Big LEZ'S League, an all rugby league experience.
Hello, welcome back to Big LEZ'S League. Welcome to your Origin Game 2 side reaction. We're going to be going through the Blues first. We are keeping a very close eye on the news in regards to when the Queensland side does come out. Usually they do come out today at 10 a.m. Hopefully they come out a little bit earlier. We are doing this reaction at 8:46. So doing it a little bit early. Obviously, the sides for New South Wales came out last night, just waiting on Queensland. Hopefully, I am, fingers crossed, hoping they come out a little bit earlier this morning. Not too much of a Billy to think about, I don't think, going into game two. There have been a few rumours about how this side is going to look. I've heard numerous things. When we get to Queensland, we'll talk about those rumours. If the side hasn't come out, I'm going to go through the side that I've picked. With New South Wales, I'm going to compare the side that I would have picked going into game two to the side that has been picked here already. And looking at this side, it is quite similar. So let's go through the New South Wales sides. Obviously, at fullback, it is Edwards. I would have gone that way. I think that Edwards picks himself. He was outstanding for the Panthers the other day with a little bit of a lingering quad injury at the moment. Managed to run nearly 300 metres for his football side. Absolutely unbelievable performance, and he has been the informed fullback all year when he's been playing. It is as simple as that. Also, we did talk about it a little bit on Rabbitohs Radio. With James Tedesco, I think the thing that kept him out of this side for game two was just low percentage plays that he has been going for over the past few weeks and just getting a little bit overly involved. It has been a criticism of James Tedesco for the past 2 years, and I think it is what has lost him that origin spot there at fullback. They needed to build a team around Hines. They needed a team with not too many chefs in the kitchen. And James Tedesco, he tried to make the big moment for his football side and unfortunately came up trumps. And I know that if that tip-off to Zach Lomax did come off, we'd be talking about James Tedesco in a completely different light, that he scored one of the better or set up one of the better tries in Origin history. But yeah, look, I mean, just a few low percentage plays, unfortunately, and a few throughout this week. Obviously, the same sort of tip on to Angus Crichton that didn't come off, low percentage plays, and just getting overly involved a little bit. It has cost him a spot in this Blues team. With Edwards, what you get is a guy that plays off his side, plays off the halves, plays off what the team needs and what the team is doing. And that is exactly what these halves need. And we'll talk about the halves in a second. On the wings, there is Brian To'o and Zach Lomax. Again, I've got both of these guys in mind. Brian To'o and Lomax in attack were unbelievable. Lomax, a little bit of defensive issues, but having Critter next to him there on the right side, you'd think would help him out quite a bit. No matter it be Critter or Latrell, I think that you are going to get a right centre that is defensively strong. Latrell is probably one of the smarter defenders in the competition. People just don't really think of him in that light. So to have either Latrell or Critter there on that right side, that he's going to be sorted, to be honest. Hopefully, we get to play with 13 men. But I think that Lomax is going to feel a lot better defensively having either Critter or Latrell outside him. For me, it would be Critter that's going to be outside of Zach Lomax on that right side. And then you'd have Latrell and Brian To'o on the left, and they've played together before in Origin as well. They have obviously been on that same side in a winning series a few years back. So, great to see Latrell back in this team too. Obviously, out of the side for game one, a lot of people left scratching their heads. He's a guy that can break the game open. Defensively, as I said, very strong, but can also break the game open in attack, and you need that sort of operator in this side. And that leads us into our centers, Latrell Mitchell and Stephen Crichton. I don't think Critter was ever going to lose his spot, and performances for the Bulldogs over the past few weeks have really solidified his spot in this side for game two. Latrell Mitchell over the past 3 weeks has been killing it for the Rabbitohs, so he pushed him his own way into this side, and he's definitely ready. Just hoping there isn't any injuries there for Latrell. Obviously, when he has been included in this side in the past, there have been a few injuries there, so just hoping that his injury run is all good. Jerome Luai and Mitch Moses in the halves. Again, the same as me here. I think that Moses was going to be in as soon as Nicho Hines left the field in game one. I think that Moses, what he brings to your side, his experience in Origin, obviously played, I think, 3 or 4 Origins now. He has the experience in this arena, and he handles the pressure very well. I mean, you look back at the games that he's lost. over the past few weeks, he's still had a blinder in those games. The performance against the Roosters still run over 100 metres for his football side, set up a few opportunities that they did have, scored a try of his own in that game as well. So Moses, what you get with him is just a competitor, great runner of the football as well. His ball playing is first class, but his long kicking game is something that they missed in game one when they had Nico Hines in there in the number 7. And I think that Moses coming in, bringing that element to the game, is going to make this Blues team a lot more dangerous. Luai, I cannot see him losing his spot now. Obviously, some great performances over the past few weeks for the Panthers in that number 7 jersey. But yeah, you just like, as I said with Moses, just a competitor in that side as well and in this Blues team as well. And particularly when Hines was struggling to generate play, to keep structure in the team, to get to their kick. Drame Luai was outstanding. Cook took control. He had a great kicking game towards the back end of the game as well, and really took charge of that side. So, what you get with Luai is someone that when his other half is struggling, he stands up. When someone in his team is struggling, when there's a bit of adversity in the side, he stands up. And that's what you need in Origin, and that's what you get with Jerome Luai. And I think that himself and Moses will be a great halves pairing as well. What you get with Moses is very similar to what you get with Nathan Cleary at the Panthers when he's in there as well. Both have great running games. Both have great long kicking games, short kicking games as well. I think it's going to be quite easy for Luai to gel with a Moses as well, which is going to be great signs going into game 2. Payne Haas, Jake Trbojevic are the front rowers. Jake Trbojevic remains captain as well. Again, it's just another thing we've picked here. Jake Trbojevic, defensively very strong. And I think that the 28 minutes that he played in game 1, I think that is going to be nowhere near how many minutes he gets in game 2. I think with McInnes dropping out of the side, you are going to see Gerbo play a few more minutes. I think that having McInnes, Yo, and Gerbo all in the side contradicted each other a little bit. Just having the two, I think it allows Gerbo to play longer minutes in that ball playing role as well, that link man role there, but also, just gets a few more minutes as well with less guys that do end up taking most of those minutes off him. So Gerbo, I think he'll play big minutes. I think he'll play around 50 to 60. And just defensively very strong, can be that link man, and especially on our goal line, he can be quite the defender as well. So good to see him in this side. Gerbo, Payne Haas in the front row, obviously a big performance in game 1. Not many people talking about Payne Haas. He played 60 minutes in game 1 in the front row. So credit to him. Played huge minutes. Payne Haas was just solid the whole time. Robson played 80 minutes too in game 1. He is the number 9. He's who I would have had as well in that number 9 jersey. Robson is such a competitor, and his ball playing and service is first class at a dummy half. He can also take a durry at a dummy half as well and create opportunities that way, but he's better with his deception at a dummy half with his ball playing. And just, as I said, his service is so crisp, and it is something that is so underrated, especially when you have good halves. Good halves getting good service means good football. So Reece Robson being there in the number 9 jersey, I think that there was no chance you were going to see a change in there, especially after his game 1 performance. His defense in that game as well was outstanding. In the back row, Angus Crichton and Liam Martin, exactly how I would have had it as well. The starting side is exactly how I would have put it going into game 1. I don't think there'd be too many changes as to how my side would look. Murray in there in that 13 as well. Martin was outstanding. His game 1 performance was absolutely phenomenal. Huge defensive plays coming up and hitting guys hard. Murray Taulagi, I think he hit the first time, and Jermaine Hopgood the second time. Big defensive plays that gives confidence to the team. That's what you need in Origin, and Liam Martin is that guy. No matter what his form is at Clubland, unless it's absolutely shocking, he's always going to be in and around this conversation because he's an Origin player. Angus Crichton, his form has been terrific, and particularly when at the start of the year, we just didn't know if he was going to be playing first grade again. For him to turn that around, to start the year in New South Wales Cup, to get out of there and then be playing State of Origin football, I mean, that is absolutely insane. You don't see those turnarounds very often. I mean, we saw Michael Jennings play State of Origin out of New South Wales Cup, I believe, once. But other than that, I just don't think it's been done. Angus Crichton hasn't been in New South Wales Cup recently, but for him to start the year in New South Wales Cup, to start the year, where people were thinking, is this guy ever going to be playing first grade again? Played a bench role at the start of the year too for the Roosters. And then to turn that around and to be an Origin back rower again, as I said, it is an unbelievable turnaround. Cam Murray only returned last week, but his performance, playing a bit of a middle role. And I think that going into Origin, that's a great sign that he can play that sort of middle link man role. He was outstanding coming back for the Rabbitohs, coming off the bench. He did play big minutes too in that game. So, Murray, unreal pick here. I think that if he's fit and ready to go, he's the first one you pick in your side. And, I like Murray. I think that he's going to do a great job there at 13. I think McInnes had to come out at the end of the day. Just not much impact in his runs. Obviously, defensively very solid and one of the better defenders on the night. But I think that attack, you just need a little bit more go forward there, and Murray provides that. And then on the bench, my bench for game 2 was Watson, Yeo, Leniu, Barnett. The bench that has been picked for game 2 is Watson, Yeo, Olakau'atu, Leniu. I don't mind it. It's not too different to mine. I probably don't. It would have been harsh, but I didn't have Hamole in mind. I think that Barnett, for me, I had locked him in pretty much for game 2 after some of his efforts for the Warriors and just the versatility. He can play in the middle. He can also play on the edge to a very high click, whereas I think that Olakau'atu is hands down a better edge player. I probably had Hamole in the reserves, which is harsh because he did have a pretty decent run and came on and did provide impact when he did come onto the field. But I had Barnett in there, just Leniu and Barnett coming off the bench. I just pictured it in my head, these two coming on in the middle of the field and creating havoc in the front row. Obviously, they've gone with Hamole there, Hamole and Yeo. Yeo will obviously come on in the front row with Leniu, and then obviously Hamole Olakau'atu, it looks like he'll come on potentially for Liam Martin or Angus Crichton on an edge. But we'll have to wait and see. It depends on how the game goes as well. Hamole might even come on through the middle of the park, but Hamole's been great. I don't mind this bench at all. I think that it is quite good. Watson deserved that 14. I think that he's been outstanding in that game for the Roosters in his return. Obviously, Madge had him in the side for game 1 before he got injured. Then they went for an all-forward bench. Great to see Watson back. I think they need a 14, and Watson, he's a guy that can cover all positions from 1 all the way down to 13. I think it is a great pick. I think, again, Watson has been a guy that's been in New South Wales Cup for most of the year as well, only recently getting spurts in first grade, and then to play State of Origin football after that as well. Absolutely unbelievable. I can't wait to see how Watson goes. For New South Wales as well, I think he's going to create great impact, and he's a real guy where looking across the park, if you were a Queenslander, you just wouldn't know where he comes onto the field. And that is what scares me a little bit, but it also scares Queensland. And in that, it is very, very good and very exciting. I think that most likely you'll see Watson go coming off the bench in a bit of a roaming 13 role. Which I think will suit the side very well. Just a little bit of leg speed through the middle. If Reece Robson needs him to as well, he can give Reece Robson a spell at 9. But I imagine Robson will be playing the 80 at hooker again. I think that Watson will play, as I said, that little, middle forward coming off the bench with leg speed. I think that he'll do a very good job there as well. Yeo, I think that will do a great job as well, being that link man lock forward or just playing in the front row. If he does play in the front row, he can't contradict what Murray's doing. He can't contradict what Gerbo's doing. If he's playing front row, he's got to play front row. I think that he's just got to come on. A little bit of footwork, late footwork at the line is fine, but just playing that run hard, tackle hard sort of role that we saw last year in game 3 that worked so well for New South Wales. He's got to go back to that sort of footy if the front row role is his role in this team. Hamole, as I said, could potentially come on and play on the edge. And then you obviously have Spencer Leniu there, who there was no chance he was losing his spot in this side. Absolutely outstanding. Now, the rest of the squad is 18th man Mitch Barnett, 19th man Cam McInnes, 20th man Luke Keary. My extended squad was 18th man Burton, 19th man, Hamole Olakawatu. And then 20th man, I had Isaiah Katoa. So very different 18, 19, 20. In fact, completely different. McInnes keeps his spot in the squad. I think he's great backup. As I said, can play anywhere in the forwards, including hooker. He provides great cover. So having him in the reserves, I think is solid. I think giving Burton taking him out of that 18th jersey, it's going to be great for Bulldogs fans. I mean, there was a lot of controversy around him being the 18th man and not being able to play for the Bulldogs. There was big chances that we would have seen Burton in that side, depending on how Hines would have gone with his calf. But yeah, look, I mean, I think it's great to see that Burton's not in 18th man and can play for the Dogs going into this week. But for him not to be in the squad at all, I think is really heavy, especially over Luke Keary. Luke Keary, love him, but he just doesn't provide much, and he's a pretty left-dominant half. He's also retiring at the end of the year. I mean, you've got younger guys in better form like Isaiah Katoa and Matt Burton who have been taken out of this side for Luke Keary. I get being loyal and picking a guy that's been there since game one, but I don't know why he's been there in game one either. As I said, Luke Keary, love him, one of my favourite players. Obviously has been playing quite well this season, but having him in Origin over some of the other guys like Isaiah Katoa, who you can provide experience for the future for. You can also give Matt Burton a crack, who's been in the squad as well. I think it is quite heavy to see Luke Keary picked over those guys, and I think it isn't really the right call. And I'd love to just sit down with Madge and discuss why he thought that was the right move, because in my opinion, it was a pretty shit go to have Luke Keary in there over Isaiah Katoa, over Matt Burton as well. Matt Burton deserved to be in that squad after his form. We've just seen literally just now that the Queensland side has dropped as I'm recording this. The Queensland side for game 2 is Reece Walsh at fullback, Xavier Coates and Murray Taulagi on the wings, Valentine Holmes, Hamiso, Tabuai Fado in the centres, Tom Dearden, Daly Cherry Evans in the halves, Ruben Cotter and Lindsay Collins in the front row, Ben Hunt at 9, Jaden Sewer, Jeremiah Nanai in the back row, Patrick Carrigan at 13, Harry Grant, Mo Fodawaker, Felice Kafusi, and Kurt Capewell. What the fuck? What the hell? Okay. Dane Gagai, Helam Lukey, and Trent Liero are the reserves for this game. Ezra Mam out. Brendan Piakura out. Wow. Very interesting. Obviously, literally just seeing this squad now. It's literally come out a few minutes ago while I was been recording this podcast. First time seeing this side. Yeah. Look, it's quite different to the team that I had. I'll obviously get it up here on the laptop, and then I will read out what I had for Queensland going into this game. Cobbo completely drops out of the side too, which is huge. Yes, he didn't have the best performance for the Broncos, but it's a massive call to make. It's a huge call to make. Let's keep going, though. I will get up my side that I had here for the Maroons, had it in the notes. So fullback, obviously Reece Walsh. I had Reece Walsh in there as well. Don't think that he was going to be out unless there was a severe injury there. Hasn't played over the past few weeks, but I think obviously he's there until he passes medical. I think that he'll be okay to play. Depending on who they bring in, if he isn't sweet, I think Hamiso goes straight to fullback and they bring Dane Gagai in to the centres. I think that's why Dane Gagai is in the reserves as cover. So obviously if Reece Walsh doesn't pass the fitness test or if he has got lingering concussion symptoms, that they do bring in Dane Gagai into the side, into the centres and have Hamiso go back into fullback. But Walsh, yeah, I've got him in there. Granted, he passes medical. I think that he'll be a great inclusion, and it'll be good to see Reece Walsh play out the full game too, because he is so dangerous, and I just love watching Reece Walsh play, especially State of Origin last year. He was absolutely incredible. Xavier Coates and Murray Taulagi were the wingers. I had Xavier Coates and Selwyn Cobbo. I think that Cobbo, what he can do for you in Origin, he had no errors in the last Origin game. There was nothing really to warrant him getting dropped out of that side. Based off his game 1 performance, yes, obviously a very poor week last week for him. Still ran 218 meters, only had, I think, 2 errors in total. So, yeah, for him to get dropped out of his side entirely is a massive call by Billy Slater, the Bush poet. So we'll see how that goes. There's a lot of talk, trust in Billy Slater, and I think that it's warranted, it's fair. But geez, I think that it is a massive call to drop Selwyn Cobbo out of this side. Valentine Holmes and Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow keep their spots. I think that was granted. You go into the halves, Dearden, DCE. I don't think that was ever going to be different. Dearden was great in game one. So was DCE. DCE probably one of the standouts and the player of the game as well. So the back line is unchanged. Front row unchanged as well. Lindsay Collins, Ruben Cotter. I was just a little bit concerned with Ruben Cotter. I mean, I've got him in my side at the end of the day as well. Just based off what he has done at Clubland and, his form there. I think that I've got him in my side as well. But I was probably going to have him off the bench right up until Sunday, really, when I changed it. Look, I mean, his impact in game one in the forwards probably wasn't the best starting. I think that he'd be good off the bench, but starts in this game might be a late change. We'll have to wait and see. We saw plenty of late changes with Ruben Cotter last year. Him and Lindsay Collins up front. Collins' performance to get into this side for game two was absolutely outstanding for the Roosters against Parramatta. Was one of the better players on the field. His intensity was absolutely insane. And I'm scared as a Blues fan to see that in Origin. Ben Hunt at 9. Didn't think there was going to be a change there. We do see Jaden Sewer and Jeremiah Nanai in the back row. That was going to be always like that. Sewer had a great game one, obviously in the spread sets. Just played his role perfectly, did his job out there. So did Nanai on that right-hand side for Queensland. Paddy Carrigan at 13 was always going to be like that. The bench for Queensland officially is Harry Grant, Mo Fotuaika, Felice Kafusi, Kurt Capewell. I had Harry Grant, Dave Fafita, Jermaine Hopgood, Kurt Mann. Kurt Mann was my smoky to get into this squad. I think that his form for the Bulldogs has been absolutely outstanding. And yes, only just coming back from injury, but I think that he would have done a better job than Kurt Capewell. Kurt Capewell off the bench for Warriors has been extremely underwhelming. The fact that he's been picked in here, yes, he has a ton of Origin experience, but his form has been fucking questionable. Yes, he's had a ton of concerns around neck injuries. I think that's more of a reason not to pick Kurt Capewell. It's just a bizarre pick here in jersey number 17. He can play a ton of roles for you. He can go into the centers. He can go into the back row. He hasn't been that good playing a middle role for the Warriors, as I said. Yeah, it's just a fucking bizarre pick. Like, I would not pick Kurt Capewell. He wouldn't have even crossed my mind for game two selection here. It is a very bizarre pick, unless there's a late change where Trent Liero or Halem Lukey come onto the bench. Yeah, extremely bizarre. And even Halem Lukey and Trent Liero are quite bizarre picks as well. I had them as depth in a depth chart that I did on TikTok and Instagram. But for them to be in the side, in the squad, yeah, very, very strange one for me. My bench, as I said, was Grant, Fafita, Hopgood, Kurt Mann. And then the reserves were Ezra Mann, Felice Kafusi, Brendan Piakura, keeping it very similar to game one. Yeah, I mean, Felice Kafusi, obviously been playing middle over the past few weeks. I imagine he'll come on into the middle. Mo Fotuaika, his impact coming off the bench for Queensland in game one was quite poor. I'm sure he'll turn that around for game two. I'm not too concerned about that pick at all. But Kurt Capewell just confuses the shit out of me. And especially when you've got Dave Fafita playing in some great form. Yes, playing a little bit as an individual, having individual moments, individual impact, but can also set up his outside men very well. I just think it's bizarre that Dave Fafita is not in this side. I think it's bizarre that Hopgood got dropped. I think it's bizarre that they haven't gone for a Kurt Mann or a Brendan Piakura, who was in the squad for game one in jersey number 17. I would have preferred Brendan Piakura there in jersey 17 over Kurt Capewell. Yeah, a bizarre pick. And obviously the leaks for Kurt Capewell came out last night, and I was just thinking, there is no way that Kurt Capewell gets onto the bench. I am absolutely starstruck that he's there. And look, it's not shit on Kurt Capewell day either, but I think he knows himself. His form over the past few weeks hasn't warranted Origin selection, that's for sure. Look, I'm sure that he can turn things around and have a big Origin performance. I just don't see where he comes onto the field. I don't see the impact that he has coming on for a Sua or a Nanai in the back row. I mean, both of those guys have been in much better form than Kurt Capewell over the past few weeks. Yeah, it's a bizarre pick for me. I definitely wouldn't have gone for it. I think that Kurt Mann would have been better. Kurt Mann can play anywhere in the forwards, including hooker. He can also play in the halves as cover. He can play at fullback if you need him to, in the centres if you need him to. Can cover if there's an injury anywhere in the side. Kurt Capewell can basically play back row and centre, but that's it. Yeah, look, I think it's a bit of a strange one for me. I mean, I would have even kept Selwyn Cobbo and mystical jersey number 17 over Kurt Capewell. I'm sure that Billy the Bush Poet's got something in his mind, but I think that Billy the Bush Poet might be going a little bit mad here, and I think that this bench might cost them game 2, and I'm hoping it does. Trent Liero, positives though. Great to see him come into the side. I think that him in the squad is great. He's going to be an Origin player of the future. We've seen that this year with his form, coming off the bench, being in the back row, being at 13. He has killed it in most of the spots that he's been in. He's been in some pretty decent form, running over 120 meters a game. He's got great offloading ability. He plays a very good link man role. If there is injury, he can play back row, 13, front row. He can play anywhere in the forwards. I think it's good to have him in the squad. Helam Lukey, he's been in great form off the bench and in starting back row when he has been there over the past 2 weeks for Queensland. I think it is a pretty decent pick. Excited to see how that pick goes and just how he goes in the squad. Maybe he might be a late in for Kurt Capewell with a bit of a blitz play from Billy the Bush Poet. Wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. I'm hoping that one of these guys is a late in because, as I said, I don't think Kurt Capewell's form is warranted Origin selection, and it sends a very weird message to guys like Dave Fafita, some other guys in the squad as well. So a bit of a strange one. Dane Gagai, as I said, his role is clear as 18th man. If Reece Walsh doesn't pass the fitness test or if he shows lingering signs of concussion, we will see Dane Gagai go into the centres with Hamaso Tabuai-Fidow going straight into that fullback role. Those are your Origin sides. Those are my thoughts. Those are my reactions to both of those teams. Let me know what you would change in these Origin sides as well. Let me know what you think of my selections as well. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Make sure if you haven't already to subscribe to the YouTube, to follow the Instagram, @BigLez'S League_. As I said, we will see you guys in the next one.